Okay, this is my grandpa. His name's Steve Boyer. He was in the Vietnam War, and I'm gonna ask him some questions. Uh, did you enlist or were you drafted to go to the war?
I enlisted.
You didn't get drafted?
No, I enlisted.
Okay. Why did you decide to join?
Well, because I just felt the obligation to our country that that's the right thing to do.
Okay. What, if anything, do you remember about basic training?
I remember about everything.
Like what?
Well, the exercising, the running, the jumping, the low crawling with guns, throwing grenades,
What was the hardest part?
riding in the trucks. And the hardest part, I guess, would be when we had the low crawl in the wintertime when it was kind of a misty rain and snow both, and we had to lay on our bellies and crawl underneath concertina barbed wire and everything, and be shot at over our heads, and grenade throwing and mud splattering in our face. And when we got done, we was all wet and muddy, and we had to stand in the back of deuce and a half trucks to go back to base. And by the time we got there, our clothes was froze to us and everything.
Wow. Do you remember arriving to your destination, like to Vietnam?
Sure do.
What was it like?
Well, it had a smell to it. I'll never forget the smell to it when I first got off the plane. And of course, it was all different. Had a different feel of the heat. You seen a lot of scorpions and spiders.
Was it really, really hot there?
Oh yeah, real hot. Of course, different times. I was in Vietnam over 2 years, and it was different times. We did have the monsoon time when it would rain and we'd be all wet, covered in water.
Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
So,
what were some of your most memorable experiences?
most memorable experiences.
Like what do you remember most about the war, or about people in the war, or
Well, there was a lot of most memorable. You mean good or bad?
whatever you can remember? Like,
Well, one of the things that sticks in my mind is all the little babies that, when you go down the road, laying in the ditch in the sun to die. We wasn't allowed to do anything with them. I guess that was one of the things that I'll never forget. And also the fact of our boys and Vietnamese and everything being killed, blowed up, and burned up, and cleaning up dead bodies where they had been cooking because they'd been burning, and we'll roll them over to put them on a stretcher to clean them up, and they just kind of burst open. And
during the war, how did you stay in touch with your family?
well, writing letters.
You couldn't call or anything?
No,
When you were there, did you have like plenty of supplies, like food and
Oh yeah,
like
hygiene
hygiene things? And
yeah, enough to there could always been more, but then there was a sufficient amount to apparently to have us survive. A lot of times you wasn't thinking about hygiene stuff or food to eat, just thinking more or less keeping your head down. I was a radio operator, keeping your head down and hoping that when the time came you'd be able to go home.
Yeah.
Sitting in a seat on a plane, not in a body bag.
Yeah. Do you remember how it felt when the day your service ended?
How it felt?
Yeah.
I was there over 2 years, and after that time I was talking a lot of the language. And to be honest with you, it was kind of hard in the beginning for me to speak just American and not Vietnamese at that time. And during those over 2 years, because I was a radio operator and I worked a lot with the Vietnamese in the ARVN soldiers in the village and everything, and I had a lot of friends, Vietnamese friends and stuff, and it was hard to leave him, not knowing what might happen to him,
Yeah.
because he was kind of grew on me like family.
Yeah. I know Clay did for sure. Did you join any veterans organizations like after you got
Oh yeah,
out of the
yeah.
like which ones did you join?
VFW. I'm still a member of VFW, American Legion, and oh, I forget some of the names.
All right. Did serving in the war change your whole outlook on wars and the military overall?
I think it was an experience, definitely, that I'll never forget. Yep, definitely.
Does it make you change your mind about any of the wars now or future wars, like what your outlook is on it?
Yes, it does.
And how is that?
Well, I can see everything is so different than what it was when we were there and what they're in their war and stuff now. That, I mean, their war now is war, don't get me wrong, and people are dying, but now it's mostly push button this and push button that, and the drones and
So,
watching
like, all
on
the-
cameras. It's not, it's not the war that we had, definitely.
So there's like more technology differences, like
Oh
a lot
yeah.
more.
Oh yeah, a lot more. Nothing. Our war didn't come close to the way they do things nowadays.
How did serving and all of your experience in the war affect your life today?
It affected my life quite a lot. Like,
Negatively or positively?
Yes,
Like
it
both?
affected my way of thinking and the way of handling things, and just my life in general.
No. So like, didn't you get like Agent Orange?
I have Agent Orange. I'm dying of Agent Orange now.
And isn't it rare for you to be alive in your 60s?
Yes, it is. I'll
with-
soon be 67 in September, and most generally they don't live that long.
Wow.
I'm fortunate that way, I guess.
Well, that was all the questions that I had to ask, and thank you for answering the questions for me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. I love you.
I love you too.